Okay, so now we're at the final exercise, and really this is the one that you would probably want to make your main practice either before you go to bed or during the wake back to bed method, because this is the one that incorporates the experiences from the first two exercises, and that way you don't have to think about what you want to do, because in the middle of the night you're probably going to be pretty tired and not into decision making. So if you are wired or have a lot of energy, you could start with the first two and then do this one, but it might be unnecessary. It's up to you though, find what works best for you. So just to review those specific points of the body that we're trying to keep open, if you think about a garden hose and you turn the water on and the water is coming out the end, and then you take the neck of it and crank it, or whatever that word is, you bend it, it stops the flow of water, right? But if you release the hose, then the water pressure continues on and the water makes its way out. So think of these areas in the body that I mentioned in the last exercise and that I'll mention now as kinks in the hose. And just by breathing into them and placing our awareness into them, we're encouraging them to be as open as possible. Now, of course, this isn't a literal thing, but we're just checking these areas of the body. And as we increase our awareness of them and give them our attention, they'll increase the flow of energy. They'll synchronize it with the rest of the body, and most importantly, you're going to notice that your mind starts to feel different as you do this exercise. Sometimes it only takes 10 minutes, sometimes it takes longer. It'll be up to you to decide how long you need to do it, when it's 3 o'clock in the morning or right before bed. But basically you want to tune into how your mental space is being affected by this exercise. For me, I know that I've hit that sweet spot when I've been doing this long enough. And there's an experience of strength in the mind, or stillness, but it's definitely a sense of strength and awareness, but that word, that's a useless word. Your mind is going to feel more solid. It's going to feel more physical. There's going to be this sense of just presence, like there's a stone in your head, but not literally, of course. I think you'll know what I find, what I'm trying to describe when you do this exercise yourself a few times. Because once there's that sense of strong presence in your mind because of the exercise, that's when you can go back to bed, start drifting to sleep as you recite your intention that next time I have a dream, I'm going to recognize that it's a dream, or whatever your particular intention is. Because as you drift off that way, this energy is going to be in the background, and it's like polishing a mirror. You know, when we go to sleep and we've been watching TV or watching Facebook or whatever it is, and we go to sleep, it's like the mirror is fogged, or like someone threw a black cloth over it. This exercise is like taking the mirror of your nighttime awareness and polishing it till it's crystal clear and very still. That's the other quality you might notice with this exercise, is that your mind starts to feel very still. Like it's very present and very unmoving, and it's just there. So that's the best I can do to describe it with words. Again, experiment with this, and I'll just give you the basic steps here and do it with you for a couple of minutes. But you'll want to try this maybe during a daytime practice. Try this as your normal daytime meditation if you don't mind replacing whatever you currently do, if you have anything like that. In fact, that would be a good practice to do during the dream course, at least for the next week and a half. Do it a little bit during the day, and then that'll carry on when you do it again, either right before bed or during the wake back to bed method. So to review, the spots that we're going to be placing our attention on one at a time are the perineum, and then the top of the sacrum and the lower end of the lower back, the mid-back between the shoulder blades, and again, we can be very general with this for this exercise. The base of the skull, that bump that sticks out right there. And then the crown of the head, maybe just an inch forward of that soft spot where the last place where our sutures join when we were babies, just a little bit forward of that. And then the forehead area between the eyes or above the eyes. And then the chest. And then the space behind the navel, also known as the lower dantian or the lower belly, or there's so many terms from different traditions for that space. And the technique is, one by one, we're going to breathe into these and just place our awareness in them. And if it helps you, you can imagine them as a white light. that you don't necessarily need to. If you can feel them and just breathe into them, your own sensitivity will increase and you'll start to just feel them. So I'd leave it up to you. Do you want to just visualize a white light in that space, or do you just want to feel them? Do what works best for you, of course. But the key here is to spend enough time at each area to start to unkink that hose. Because if we just breathe a couple times into it, then move to the next one, then move to the next one, move to the next one, it's not enough time. We're just kind of and that's not very effective. What I recommend is spending 9 in-breaths and out-breaths on each area and then moving on to the next one. So for example, starting at the perineum, I'm just going to place my attention there. Your eyes can be open or closed. And it's okay if your mind is having other thoughts while you do this practice. Don't worry about being distracted, especially if it's the middle of the night. You're going to be woozy, and that's totally okay. This can still work even if your mind is halfway thinking about other things. As long as you're still mostly present with us, it's totally okay. So what I'm doing is placing my attention in my perineum, just feeling it. You might give it a couple squeezes to help you find it. And then I'm just going to breathe in and just imagine it relaxing. And then as I exhale, I'm also going to imagine it relaxing. So relax the area on the in-breath and relax it on the out-breath. And relaxation and awareness have a very close relationship. Just by paying attention to it and breathing, it's going to soften and relax. So breathing in, feel it, relax. And the rest of my body's relaxing too. Even as I'm saying this to you, I can feel it. And then as I exhale, feeling my perineum, it softens, my whole body softens. So if you're doing this with me, we're in breath number 3. Let's just do up to 9 breaths together. And then after 9 breaths, we're going to just shift our awareness so that on the next in-breath, we come up to the top of the sacrum and the lower region of the lower back, and just do the same thing there. So let's just do just a few breaths together there. And just a note about your posture, you need to be sitting in a way that's really comfortable for you. If you're trying to do some sort of meditation posture and your lower back is hurting or straining, this isn't going to work. So you could do this practice actually laying down if that's more comfortable. So if you want to right now, just lay down in your living room, wherever you're watching this, and just listen to my voice. And then at night, you could do it laying down in your practice area that you go to during the wake back to bed method. So now let's move up to the space between the shoulder blades just for a few breaths. Now let's bring our attention to the back of the base of the skull. And now let's bring our awareness to the top of the head. And you might notice some subtle sensations at some of these spots as you start to open up the energy flow. There's really nothing to do with them, just notice them. If they help you keep your attention on that area, that's great. But these little tiny sensations, it might even feel like one of your hairs is starting to move up top. It's a sign that the energy is moving more, so that's good. And then moving to the space in the forehead. Again, you can be very general about it. Don't worry about being specific about where to go. In the breathing, you're not controlling the speed of the breath. Just breathe out whatever is normal for you. In the middle of the night, it might be a very slow breath, actually. Make sure that your tongue is just gently touching the roof of your mouth, the top of the palate. If you feel a slightly electrical feeling at the tip of the tongue, then that's a good sign. And now let's move to the general heart area. Do the same thing there. And now we'll bring our attention to the lower belly. You can just go a little bit behind the belly button in that space of your abdomen. Make sure you're breathing easily, so as you inhale, your tummy pooches out a little bit. And I recommend finishing with a couple of breaths at the perineum, just to close the whole loop. Okay, we'll stop here, but just know that when you do this, it's important to do all these areas the way we just did so that it closes the full loop. You don't want to stop halfway, because then you've opened up the energy that's upward moving in the back, but still all the gates in front are still more closed, and so you're going to have this buildup of pressure here, and the flow is not going to continue down toward the front. There's a couple of other things for you. If you're new to this, it's a practice like anything else, and you might not feel anything the first 2 or 3 or 4 times that you do it, but as you practice it more and more, you start to be more sensitive to the feelings in your body, and especially more sensitive to how your mind and your awareness feel as you're doing the practice, and how it affects your mind as you drift off to sleep. So remember that you want to do maybe around 9 breaths at each station before moving on to the next one. If you find that in the middle of the night you start to drift off to sleep or to la-la land halfway through a series of 9 breaths, make it shorter. Do 4 breaths at each spot, because that'll keep you coming back. And that happens to me when I do this in the middle of the night. I'll be the 5th breath, 6th breath, and I'm like daydreaming already or just drifting off. But I'm not done, so I want to come back and then move on to the next area, move on to the next. And the areas in between, they just naturally join the spots. They make the connection so the flow moves forward. What we're doing here, to use a telecommunications example, this is not a great example, but imagine the internet network and the cables in between the servers, let's say where the information flows, that they have a lot of capacity. And in between the sections of cable or networking are the servers, and these things have processors in them that are supposed to receive the information, do whatever they do, and send them off to the next one. But it's almost as if the network has more capacity than the servers do, the nodes do. And so what we're doing is we're working on these nodes and increasing their capacity to deal with the information that's moving along the network. So when the individual nodes in the network have more capacity, when they're more open, when that hose has been opened up, then the information flows through. So that's just another way to think of this. We don't have to worry about the whole circuit, just the specific nodes, breathing into them, bring our awareness into them, softening them, relaxing them. And as we go along, you'll feel your body relaxing and softening. In your mind, it might be softening, but the sense of awareness of knowing what's happening is going to be sharper and clearer and more still. So those are the qualities that we're looking for. Because if you go to sleep like that, then when you enter the REM stage, the imagery and the information and the experience is going to be clearer and sharper, and it's going to stand out more, increasing your possibility of becoming lucid. But again, it's good to still use the technique of drifting off to sleep and setting your intention at the same time after you've worked on your mind and your body this way. So before I let you go, I'm going to see if I can grab Sierra, and we're going to do a little partner exercise that you could do at home with your partner, your roommate, and even your dog or cat if you wanted to experiment with feeling someone else's energy field. Because you might have a dream one day where you're lucid and you want to heal yourself or you want to heal a friend, and they're right there in your dream, and you can apply this technique and it could actually have an interesting effect even in the physical world. So I just want to share that information with you. So hold on, I'm going to get Sierra.